Okay, let's take a look at creating a basic app. So I'm going to close that. We got Xcode up and running here. We create a new Xcode project. Single view app is fine, so I click next. Give it a name. I'll call it add numbers 4. And you can leave everything as default here. If you want to include the unit tests, you can. And I got it pointed to my desktop, so that's fine. So I'll click create. Now this comes up here. You want to click main storyboard. So bring up our app window, what the app's going to look like. I'm going to create an app to add two numbers together. There it goes. Okay, so I'll come down. Here's my text field, so I'm going to drag and drop that on here. Drop another text field on there. Drop a button on there. And then I'll drop a third text field on there, even though this might be better as a label. Now the button here, I'm going to type, click inside there. There we go. Add numbers. Move that over. Okay, that's as good enough for design purposes. I'm going to show off this far left. Clicking that button there. And I can click on it. There we go. Resize that a little bit so I have some room. I'll click the assistant editor here. And I'll shut these off. There we go. Okay, so you have to look for the definition here. We got our class, view controller, and then user interface view controller, and then there's a beginning curly bracket. It has to be after this beginning curly bracket right here. We're going to hold on our control key, and I'm going to then put my mouse over this first text box, hold down my left mouse button, using the pad on the MacBook, then you can do that too. I like this control, and I'll come over here, I'll drop it right below that, lit up, and I'll give it a name like T1. And I'll click connect. I'm going to click my next text box, hold down my control, click and drag, and drop it over right underneath there. Give this a name, T2. Connect. And then I'm going to do one more, my text box here, hold down my control, click and drag that, drop it there, and I'll give that T3. Click connect. And so we got our three text fields defined here. Now, down here at the very bottom, before this last curly brace, this is where we're going to put in some new code. And it's going to be based upon clicking this button. So I'm going to click that, hold on my control, drag and drop it into this location. Lit up. The connection, we want to choose an action because we're forming an action. Give it a name. Let's see. Add numbers. Type is going to be a user interface button. And the event, you can choose whatever here. Of course, it's whatever you want to program is what I mean by that. Touch up inside is fine. And I click connect. And then you see the beginning curly brace here. I want to do an enter, and this one will open my code. So I'm going to do a declaration bar the sum int, and I'll do escape to get that window to pop up. That's going to be an integer. I'm going to declare another variable a little bit differently. I'll say let num1 equals int, in beginning parentheses, t1.text, and then the exclamation, and then close parentheses. That's going to bring in the value of the text, and int converts it to an integer, and then assigns it to num1. I'll let num2 equals to int t2.text, exclamation, and then press enter. That's going to be doing the same thing. It'll bring the value of t2, which we said was the second text box. It'll bring in the text property of it, attribute, and change it to an integer, and then assign it to this variable. So at this point, num1 and num2 should have the values that are put into those first two text boxes, assuming they're integers. And then I'll say the sum is equal to num1, exclamation, plus num2, exclamation. It's going to add the two numbers together. Now we want to write it out to the third text box. So we'll say t3.text equals string, beginning parentheses, the sum, and close it. Okay, so let's run it now. So we'll bring up our simulator. And you see we got our two text boxes here, text box down here. If I click in here with my, I'm using a mouse because I don't like the little pad. I put in 3 in here, come down here, click 4, and click add numbers, then that'll add them together. And our answer is 7. And that's how you can create a basic app, and then I'll click this square here to stop it. Basic app to add two numbers.